So I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about so-called conversion to Islam, and we were talking about how neither one of us found this uh, term to be satisfactory because there was just something that was missing in it that didn't really get to the core of what it's like. And of course, there's the convert versus revert. And then today, I was at the bookstore and I ran into a young woman who is considering becoming Muslim, and she's been doing some studying. And so during our conversation, I happened to stumble in she was asking the owner of the bookstore some questions about Islam. And I happened to come in, and he was like, "Oh, well, here, you can ask the Imam." And I was like, "I'm off the clock, dude." um, so anyway, we wound up getting to a conversation, and she's like, "Oh, so you weren't born Muslim?" I said, "No, I became Muslim." And she was like, "Oh, you mean you converted to Islam?" And I was like, I don't like that term only because it gives the impression of a kind of one and done thing, right? Like, I became Muslim, the end. Or I became Muslim, stop. And what I didn't like about it is that it also felt very mechanical, right? You converted, right? Like, I don't know, shifting gears or, like alchemy, right? Like converting lead to gold, so then, okay, once you've been converted over into your next state, that just didn't seem to add up with how I felt, which is I became Muslim. And certainly, one day I was a non Muslim, the next day I was a Muslim, but I never stopped being. And of course, part along with the being is an ongoing process. And that, I am Muslim 26 years later, but it's still going, right? This thing is still going. I'm still learning. I'm still improving. It doesn't, especially now that I am Muslim, the Muslim part doesn't stop, right? It just keeps going and going and, trying to improve and whatnot. So I said, she's like, "Oh, do you prefer the word revert?" I'm like, nah, not really feeling that term so much either because, and it's not because I don't understand what people mean when they say that. We're all born Muslim, the natural state, fitra, all this kind of, I get that. Not really feeling that in terms of explanatory, in English. And I said, no, I became Muslim. And it's not that I'm still becoming Muslim because I am Muslim now, right? I mean, praying, fasting, zakah, all that stuff. But there still is some kind of ing going on, right? There is still some process. So I don't, just sharing some thoughts on this مصطلحات مصطلحات دخول الذين دخلوا في الإسلام, right? The sort of terminology of those who, enter into Islam. I prefer, I became Muslim because it implies still an ongoing process. So just thought I would give some food for thought, especially for those who were born Muslim and may deal with people like this young woman who may or may not, become Muslim. May Allah guide her and make the path easy for her. But just be kind of careful how you use the word, because sometimes it can be very, I don't know. I think it can be very stunting in its terminology, and I think it can be very compartmentalizing and you know and just not very helpful. So anyway, hope this is of some interest. Inshallah, we'll be trying to put out our episode of the follow up maybe tomorrow. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.